Hola, mi gente linda. Why do you need to vote in local elections? Well, if you want to see change, that is your best bet. And that is the conversation that I had earlier this year with David Lopez Negrete, who is running for district court judge in the state of Nevada. He's another Latino, another immigrant who became a citizen and now is running for office. Hola, mi gente linda. I am Silvia from Toro Latino, and I inform thousands of people about what is going on and show them ways they can be more involved. So, if you get overwhelmed with all of the headlines, but you want to still know what you should be paying attention to or learn about ways to get involved, this is the channel for you. Subscribe and don't forget to turn on the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Earlier this summer, I had the privilege of interviewing David Lopez Negrete. And one of the best parts of our conversation was a discussion about local elections, why they matter, why you need to vote in local elections if you want to see real change, visible change in your communities.
My name is David Lopez Negrete, o para mi gente, David Lopez Negrete. And I was born in Mexico City. I moved to the US when I was about 7 years old. Then I went to college in New York City at NYU. So then I went to law school at University of Arizona. While I was in my second year, I became a US citizen. And I started the job that I have right now at the Public Defender's Office. I did an internship and over the summer was here in Las Vegas representing indigent people. Fell in love with the work, fell in love with the office. After I graduated law school, I came back here to Vegas, passed the bar, and I've been working in public defense since. So that's a little bit about me.
So now tell me a little bit more about political David.
Okay, so this is actually the first time that I've ever run for office. I've been working as a trial attorney at the Public Defender's Office for the past 10 years. And obviously, you know about social issues, you know about civil rights issues, working in that sphere, right? But I had never really thought about politics or anything like that. But this year, just in my experience, seeing the way things play out in court, I think that there's a need for a different perspective to come to the bench. And one that's underrepresented is the public defender perspective, right? And we're not just talking about diversity in terms of cultural diversity, race and all that, which I think is obviously a plus, but I think you also want a diversity of experience. And the public defender experience, I think, is something really valuable. You see problems in the system, you see things that can be improved, and ultimately, you have to make the decision to not just complain, not just offer, different proposals, but to actually try to do something in real terms to try to make some changes, right? And so I'm not asking or looking for just a radical revolution kind of thing, but I think it's important that we have people who have a different background and can bring different sensibilities to these very important questions. And so at the end of it, that's basically what made me want to try to not just, be in the courtroom. Obviously, you're fighting, but to try to be in the position of power where you're making the calls. I think that it is kind of scary, but it's also really exhilarating. It's very exciting. Okay, so I'm running for a district court judge. So I'm running to actually become a judge and sitting on the bench and actually making the calls that judges make, right? And the district court judge is the person who basically oversees the trial courts or their own trial court. It's the trial court level in the justice system where they see civil cases involving pretty large sums of money, and then also in the criminal side you get to see felonies and also other types of serious crimes. So that's what the district court judge level is about.
What is like the period of a district court judge? What do you call it? Like the tenure?
Yep. 6 years. And then if there's a vacancy, then the governor appoints someone to, I think, serve 2 years, and then they are up for election.
Got it. And then in this case, you are running for a spot that somebody vacated, or are you running against the incumbent?
I'm running against the incumbent, yeah. So I'm the challenger in this case.
I think we're going to jump a few questions and then go to what we had planned, because we
Sure.
are talking about the elections, and this is so important, and that this is something that both you and I know how important local elections are. And I would love to hear your perspective from somebody who works in politics, in the public defender's office. Like, you have so much knowledge, and I think people just don't fully they're not that they don't understand. It's just it's normal that we're not aware how much local officials and local elections can make a huge difference, because they don't get as much buzz and media coverage and excitement and balloons and conventions as the humongous or like the big federal
Right.
elections do.
Our country, the U.S., is based on this idea of federalism, right? And what that means is that there are two different governments, right? You have the federal government that kind of oversees the entire country, but then you have state and local governments that kind of they're supposed to act as laboratories. That's one of the buzzwords that in government you talk about what the difference is between state and federal governments, right? So the states are supposed to have a degree of autonomy, a degree of freedom to kind of decide what the laws are going to be in their particular state, right? They can't cross the line and violate federal laws constitutionally, things like that. But the states are where the action is, a lot of the action is. So when you're talking about, for instance, criminal justice, all right, and criminal justice reform, a lot of that happens on state levels. One key example, for example, is the decriminalization of marijuana. It's still a crime at the federal level. But you look at all these different states, and they've taken it upon themselves to say, we don't want to do things like that anymore. And so ultimately, each state has gone through their debates and ultimately decided one way or the other. Nevada, here, it's legal, right? In Oregon, I think it's also legal. So yeah, so those ideas happen at the state and local level, and so if you're also talking about, again, criminal justice reform, Nevada, we have judges that are elected, and those are local positions, right? And we have statewide judges also on like the appeals court and the Supreme Court in the state that are elected as well. So they get to decide all the questions regarding state law. You're talking about prosecutors and sheriffs in each county. Those are elected officials. That's a local race. And these individuals have a tremendous amount of influence, a tremendous impact on people's everyday lives. So when we're talking about local elections, it's really important. And like another example, a small one, if you want to call it that, here in Clark County, we have a commission. And for instance, with this whole COVID situation happening and a lot of restaurants struggling, right, to stay open and to feed their customers, they've been relying on delivery apps to help with that, right? And it's a necessity at this point. The commission looked at that issue because the restaurants apparently were losing a lot of money based on how much they had to pay in terms of fees to the delivery apps. And it's the county commission who decided to enact a cap on how much fees go to the company. Those commissioners are elected and they are part of local elections. So again, day in, day out, the decisions that kind of affect our everyday lives, a lot of them happen at the local level. And more importantly, when you're talking about just in general, the broad overview, the federal constitution, you have these rights that can't be violated. But that's really just the floor, right? Each state, their individual state constitution can grant more rights. So there's still a lot of play that can be done at the state and local level. It's not something that the federal government is always the place where you need to focus your efforts if you're interested in the issues in your community. There's a lot to do at the local level.
If you want to learn more about David, click the link underneath this video. Also, don't forget to check our new online store. That way you help us stay in business and grow so we can inform more people and help them stay in the know and be more politically involved. And as an added benefit, you get to choose one of 6 pre-selected nonprofit organizations where we donate a percentage of each sale. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, turn on the bell, and share it with your friends. I'll see you again next week.